Can I do the intro this week?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
We're recording.
Yeah. Here we go.
Here we go.
Welcome back to the Don't You Forget About the 80's podcast. You're here with me, Jacob, from Loco 1, not Johnny Loco. And joining me is Paul from Babel Sassalisk. We talk about 80's records and vinyls and review them in a manner not done before. Messed that up, didn't I? We also talk about Paul's childhood through the 80's and how he enjoyed and not enjoyed some parts of his younger life.
That was possibly the worst intro ever. Ever.
I was thinking I was going to, every time we take it in turns doing an intro,
Yeah.
and I'm going to just change your name up a little bit every time. So I might do
happy with that.
Instead of calling you Sable Basilisk, I might call you Stable Bench List or something like that.
That sounds more like an MI6 type name, cover name, doesn't it?
Sable Basilisk?
No, Stable Bench Lift.
It's like Benedict Cumberbatch.
See, that's not a real name, is it?
No.
That's like a medicine for sore throats mixed with an item you would wear if you're going on a night out in a dress style like black tie.
Oh, Cumberband.
Yeah.
Cumberband?
Cumberband. It just sounds like a medicine.
Terrific. Right, so...
Doctor, very sore throat. Let me prescribe you Let me prescribe you some Benedict Cumberbatch.
Take 2 doses daily.
Take 2 spoonfuls.
I was going into Charles Dozer there. People.
I love that guy. I absolutely love that guy.
Anyway, this week we are talking about Duran Duran's self-titled album, Duran Duran.
In fact, should we start again? This week we're talking about Duran Duran. I went all Peaky Blinders then.
Because Duran Duran were obviously, they formed in the 1915 to 1920 period.
And they wore those hats with razor blades in there.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, they were part of a street gang, and they just went up to every so often they caught a barge.
Yeah.
Because that was the quickest transport.
Right.
See, I don't get that in Peaky Blinders. You know, they get on the barge to go up to London.
Down to London.
You'd be quicker walking.
Yeah, they only go like 2 miles an hour. In the show, they get there in like 2 days. It's going to take you 3 weeks. I don't know. That's rubbish.
They time warp. It's worse than like the first series of Star Trek, isn't it?
What do you mean?
In terms of like time to distance travelled.
Well, is it Star Trek's kind of
brilliant
made up?
It's not. It's true. It's
so
in colour.
Anything could happen. It's in colour, so it's
real. Yeah. It's
cool.
black and white. It's not real. Anyway, so this week, welcome again to the podcast. After that dreadful introduction by
I'll work
Jacob,
on it. I'll get better next time.
We're going to be talking about the first Duran Duran album, entitled Duran Duran. So let's talk a little bit about the band first of all, shall we?
Yeah, they're quite famous.
They are. So they're
very well known.
Yeah, I mean, you know Duran Duran really well, don't you?
I think everyone knows Duran
Yeah,
Duran.
of course they do. What would be if you said Duran Duran? What's the first song that you would think of?
Rio.
Okay.
That's probably most famous.
For you?
Not for me personally, but to most people my age,
right.
Rio is their go-to. Like, that's Duran Duran.
Okay.
I think. To me, Wild Boys.
Yeah.
That is my personal favourite and most like recognisable.
Yeah.
You know, when me and the lads go out on a sesh, we play that.
Yeah, but see,
because we are the Wild Boys.
No, this is a funny thing. So, your sesh, or when you go on a night out,
yeah, never heard you say it like that.
Oh, sesh,
your sesh,
your sesh.
Yeah,
that was my Chris Tarrant voice. Yeah, see, now your generation, you do it all differently to the way we used to do it. So
yeah, we do.
So you were complaining earlier to me about, because you went out last night, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you were complaining about how...
I didn't go out. I went out.
What is there a difference?
There is a difference.
Is there?
Yeah. So.
What, you don't just go out?
Okay, no, common term. Go out. Maybe just, you're going out to go to like a pub, a couple of drinks, come home.
Yeah.
Out. That's where the efficiency kicks in. That's where you start planning it and scheming. You have a pre-drinks.
I don't get all
It's
this.
fully fueled.
I don't understand what this pre-drinks thing is all about.
So pre-drinks is you all get together in someone's house. You all listen to your favourite tunes together.
Bit of vinyl.
Sometimes, I mean, if anyone actually had one, we probably would. Grab it up on Spotify. We listen to some good tracks. And we drink. Drink lots. Because it's cheap. Because most places when you go out, when you were younger, you go out and get a pint. What was it, £1.50?
£1.50? £1.
A quid, there you go.
At the most.
So here, we're looking at £4.50 for a pint.
That's disgusting.
So everyone goes, no, forget that.
Yeah, I understand why you do that.
We'll buy some, drink at home, do it over 2 hours, get as much in safely as we can.
Yeah.
Go out to bars and then
yeah,
clubs.
I can see why you do it.
That's out, because you're like doubling down.
Yeah, yeah. And then you were complaining about the fact that everywhere closed at 1:30 or 2 o'clock, weren't you?
No, I said midnight.
Right, okay.
I was complaining because they closed at midnight.
Yeah, and I was saying that when we used to go out, because it was not an out, it was just going out.
Yeah.
Everyone shut at midnight anyway, so that was it. Duran Duran, a bit about the background of Duran Duran. The band formed in 1978 in Birmingham.
Wow.
I suppose I shouldn't say that because we're not too far from Birmingham, are we?
No.
And most people, a lot of people think that we have got Birmingham accents, although I don't think we have.
We don't sound like we've got Birmingham accents.
No.
I think we've just got. I don't know.
No.
I
Accentless.
don't know. Yeah.
We're off the grid.
Yeah, someone I think we'll get posh.
Anyway, so the band was originally started by Nick Rhodes and John Taylor. So Nick Rhodes is the keyboard player.
Right.
And John Taylor, who eventually ended up being the bass player, actually started on guitars. And they started off as the resident band in a club called the Rum Runner in Birmingham, which was quite a famous night spot back in the day.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And when they first started, they recruited a singer who was a guy called Stephen Duffy, or Stephen Tintin Duffy, as I should say.
Was that because of his hair?
No, because he was actually he later had his own singing. Yeah, he did. Called Mark.
What?
His dog was called Mark.
Actually, or is this?
Yeah.
Okay.
People used to see him around and go, "Hey, this Stephen Tintin Duffy and his dog Mark."
Why's the dog got more of a normal name than him?
Who knows?
I don't like it when people name dogs human names.
Why?
It's weird, isn't it?
Oh, I love it.
Imagine you go around to the local park, just go have a stroll through, and some dog walkers are there, and someone shouts, I don't know, what's a typical dog name?
Bonzo.
Yeah, someone's shouting that, you don't think anything of it, and someone is going, Kenneth! Kenneth!
That's a great name for a dog.
Ken! Kenneth! Kenneth! Ken! And he's just not, the dog will just be sat there, just really dopily sad looking forward.
I've already decided when I get my dog, it's going to be called Carson.
Carson?
It's the butler off Downton Abbey.
Brilliant. Right.
So, Carson, come here. Carson, sit.
Well, that's good.
So, Stephen Tintin Duffy and his dog Mark. So, he actually became a singer in his own right a bit later.
Yeah.
And he released, I think he released an album, and he had a famous single called Kiss Me, which you might have heard, but you might not have done. Anyway, so Stephen Duffy was the singer. And then through the years 79 and early 1980, the band went through several different lineup changes, and eventually they settled on what became the Duran Duran lineup of Nick Rhodes on keyboards, John Taylor on bass, Roger Taylor on drums, Andy Taylor on guitar, and Simon Le Bon singing. The three Taylor brothers.
Were they actually all brothers?
No.
Okay.
They weren't related at all.
When did Simon Le Bon come into it?
So Simon Le Bon was the last to join.
That's the only name I actually know.
So Simon Le Bon was the last to join. He joined in early 1980. He was recommended to them by, I think, one of the girlfriends of someone who worked at the Rum Runner knew Nick Rhodes and John Taylor and said, you ought to try this guy out as a singer. He's really good. And he was in London, but I think he came down and met them. And one thing that I think impressed them, the story goes, that he already had a book full of lyrics. He'd written loads of song lyrics already.
Oh, wow.
So when he came to join them, he'd already written all these lyrics out and had this fantastic book of lyrics. And I think if you watch some of the documentaries, Nick Rhodes says it really impressed him, like, hey, this guy's already come with a book full of like lyrics. All we've got to do is start putting the music to it.
That's a difficult way to do it.
It is, isn't it?
Normally when I write songs, I do everything else and the lyrics last and the vocals last.
Yeah, but that's because you're more... You're music orientated, aren't you? So do you come up with like a hook or a melody as your inspiration?
Yeah, more or less.
And then you build your song around that.
And they did it the other way around.
No, not necessarily. Because if you look at, I've seen snippets of his book of lyrics, and they change slightly to fit the song better. So they obviously would have.
How have you found his book of his lyrics?
No, I didn't find it. I've seen it on documentaries and.
Oh, okay.
programs. By mid 1980 or early 1980, the band had got what was then the fixed lineup, and they secured a support slot supporting a tour with Hazel O'Connor, who you probably don't know.
No.
She was from Coventry and very famously starred in a film called Breaking Glass. So anyway, they supported her and went off on a support tour. And whilst writing and singing the songs from the first album, Duran Duran.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, should we talk about the album?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the album.
Let's talk about the album. As long as we get some good points about what you remember when you were younger from it.
Well, they're bound to come in, aren't they?
That's what I'm here for.
Bound to come in, aren't they? Released on the 15th of June, 1981. It was recorded in December 1980. They were signed to EMI. And the album eventually reached number 3 in the UK charts.
Wow.
That
sounded so...
contrived.
Who's the guy? Owen Wilson.
Wow.
I just did that.
He's got his bum chin. No, he's the one... Has he got the bum chin and the nose like a willy?
What? I don't know.
He's got a nose that looks like...
Is he?
Like a male member, hasn't he?
I don't look at his nose. I just know he does that.
Oh, right, yeah.
Wow.
It's me, Owen Wilson.
I just did that.
Wow. What?
That's what I said when you told me those facts.
What?
So,
wow.
Well, yeah, I did. You missed it. You'll hear it on the listen back.
Yeah.
So they're early 80s. But they're still going today.
Yeah. Longevity. So they've gone through some lineup changes, haven't they? Over the years. And then in 2006, they got back together again in the original lineup and did a tour and wrote the Astronaut album, which you bought me, actually. You bought me the CD of Astronaut. And then they toured, did a major world tour. But I think at the end of that, the original guitarist Andy Taylor said, I've had enough of this, I'm off.
Oh, okay.
And he went again. So they're back down to the 4 of them.
Oh. Okay, so I got a question.
Yeah.
In your eyes, personally, so this Duran Duran is a 2-parter, you said to me earlier.
It is, yes.
By that, do you mean for this album in particular, or
No.
you just mean Duran Duran in general?
Duran
So
Duran in
next time
general,
we'll do another one of
yeah.
these.
So in these reviews, we're going to cover 2 albums, the 2 most iconic albums for Duran Duran, because there was a third that came out in the 80s, which was Seven and the Ragged Tiger, but we're not going to go on to that. We're going to talk about Duran Duran, and then there's a separate podcast we're going to talk about Rio.
Cool, okay.
Because you can't lump the 2 together. They're 2 very different albums.
That's fair enough.
2 very different stages of Duran Duran's career as well.
And when did Rio... Was it called Rio?
Yeah.
And when did that come out?
That was mid 82.
Oh, so not long after this.
No. So I guess they'd already written quite a lot of the songs for Rio. In fact, I know I read somewhere that the very first guitarist before Andy Taylor joined had already written the song Rio in its earliest incarnation.
Oh, right.
So, I guess a lot of the songs have been knocking around and they were just holding on to them.
And they just knew that was going to be a really good one.
Who knows?
So to you, what's the best what was the best stage of Duran Duran? Like,
for me, that's really difficult, because I absolutely love this album. I think this is a fantastic album, and I think the songs on it are brilliant. And it was for me, it was the start of the adventure into new romanticism.
yeah.
So this was the.
Did they kick it off, or did they just kind of bring it to a more mainstream?
That's a difficult question, because there is a lyric in Planet Earth, I think it is. Yeah, in Planet Earth, where Simon Le Bon sings, like some new romantic looking for the TV sound. You'll see I'm right some other time. And I think that might have been where the media jumped onto the term new romantics.
Okay.
And then they lumped in Spandau Ballet, Japan, ABC, who weren't really, but we've talked about them before.
Yeah.
Visage, Ultravox.
Right.
All those types of bands got lumped into that new romantic sort of, bracket sound.
Yeah. But to you, it's hard to work out which is the best point for Duran Duran.
Yeah, so I mean, I love Rio. For me, when we come on to the Rio album, I'll talk about that separately, because I don't really go into that now, because it evokes different memories. So for me, the Duran Duran album was the start point for me, going from punk, which I just kind of missed, and I desperately wanted to be a punk, but it was almost over by the time that I kind of discovered it and got into it.
Yeah.
Whereas the new romantic movement, what?
I missed out on punk.
I'm so sad.
This season of punk has just finished.
Yeah,
I'm not even there to put my jacket on and join in.
Really. But this, as someone who was like really into sort of like art and photography and so on, the new and the whole, shall I say, the flamboyancy of
I think that's a good word to describe it.
Yeah, so
big frilly.
Well, we can see that.
Ruffle neck.
Yeah, I mean, like you can't. If you can see, if you have a look at the album cover at some point, you'll see the way that Duran Duran are dressed, especially Nick Rhodes, the keyboard player, who changed his hair colour lots, but on this one he's got dark hair. But he's wearing a particularly nice ruched lace shirt. Ruched.
Because you told me that you were so into the new romantic fashion that you actually went to a children's party in a pink crushed velvet suit with a ruffled white shirt.
That's completely
Isn't that right?
wrong. No, no, that's not right at all.
That is. That's what you told me.
No, what I told you was...
Mother, I quite like this new romantic music. Could I have a pink crushed velvet suit and ruffled white shirt underneath? It's my friend Michael's birthday party and I'd like to go to it dressed like this.
No.
Don't know how it went.
No, I was about 9.
Yeah.
I'd been one of my mum's friends got married and they asked me and my sister to be page boy and what's the girl equivalent? Bridesmaid.
Yes.
At their wedding. And she had a wedding dress, or was it the bridesmaids? They had someone. It was, don't forget, this was like the 70s, early 70s. Someone.
It's mid 70s.
Mid 70s, yeah. So someone was wearing a pink, crushed, velvet corduroy dress, and they thought it would be rather nice for me to have a pair of trousers that from the same material or matching.
Right.
So I had to wear these kind of, and they were flared. When I stood still, you couldn't see my shoes.
Wow.
They actually covered my
Elephant
shoes.
legs.
Yeah, covered my shoes. No, they're very, very slim fitting down to the knee, and then they suddenly went, wah!
Oh,
yeah.
God, corduroy as well.
Corduroy. Crushed. It's like a crushed velvety material.
Yeah.
And it was pink. And I had to wear that and a shirt, but instead of wearing a shirt and a tie, which would have been mildly better, I had to wear a shirt with a button-on ruff, which went down the front there. And there's just like this frilly rectangle that buttoned onto the shirt and went from my neck down to my stomach.
But you're saying this like you wore it to the wedding.
Right, so
you
I
didn't wear it to the wedding, did you?
No, let me come on to that. I did wear it to the wedding. So I wore it to the wedding, and I thought that was it. So, okay, I've wore it to the wedding. I've done what I was meant to do. That's it. Gone.
I've served my time.
Served my time in crushed velvet and Mechlin lace. And I then, about a month later, got invited to one of my best mates' birthday parties, and all the lads from school were going.
Brilliant.
So, brilliant. I wanted to go. Yeah. His name was Cherry.
His name was Cherry.
Cherry. That was his nickname. His name was. I think his name was Robert Berry. But we all called him Cherry.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to Cherry's birthday party. Brilliant. All the lads at school. Yeah, you going to Cherry's birthday? Yeah, brilliant. So the day the party comes round, my mum goes, I've laid your party clothes out on the bed for you. And I go up, and can you imagine? I walk into my room, and laying out on the bed is the pink trousers and the shirt and the ruff.
Oh, the ruff as well.
Oh, my life. And Mum, I'm not wearing that. I'm not going in that. All my friends are going in jeans and t-shirts.
What was
no,
the
you
party?
dress. It was just a birthday party.
What do you do for a birthday party at that age?
So all I can remember was
crying.
I think I probably did. I think I went, and they played. Had one game I remember they had set up was like they had two teams and they had two fishes cut out of pieces of paper, and you had a piece of card and you had to flap the card, and make the fish go. This fish go down the corridor along the floor.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it's the first one to get the fish to the end.
It's a pretty good game. I
can remember, and I remember the rest of the party just sitting in a corner, like stropping, like almost in tears. That I looked such a dick.
Yeah.
So bless my mum. Yeah. So
little did she know that that was what you were going to aim for.
Yeah. So
10 years later.
So I had to go to this party. I turned up. I remember turning up at the door. My mum going to the door with me and open it, and there's all the other lads in there in jeans and t-shirts, and me in the pink crush velvet trousers and the shirt with the ruff on. And I can remember turning to look at my mum and giving her the look, the most.
You know what you've done.
And all I wanted to do was go.
Yeah.
I told you. And my mum just said, "Have a nice time," and ran off. And there was I. They must have looked at me and thought,
really
"Yeah, the lads." Can you imagine those? Like 9 or 10. They must have turned around and looked at me and thought, "What?
Who's that?"
Is he going to a fancy dress party afterwards, or has he been to a wedding? A really bad wedding?
I heard he's going to fight Captain Hook after this.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the origins of the pink crushed velvet trousers.
And that was actually the start of New Romantics.
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
massive coif hair.
Oh, no, it's crimped hair.
Crimped
hair. Crimped and backcombed.
All right.
Yeah, so we all had a wedge haircut at the time, which is the one that Nick Rhodes had. So it was like a really long fringe and short on one side. So you had it short here, like quite short, and then it's long fringe like that.
Oh yeah.
So like an exaggerated short back and sides. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So experimented with pinching my sister's eyeliner. I had no idea how to put it on. Yeah, little tiny bit.
Horrific.
Just to see what it looked like.
Scary stuff.
Yeah. And big scarves. And yeah.
And this was when you were 16?
14, 15 this was.
Was it?
Mm. Yeah. It was a good look.
What happened?
What do you mean what happened?
Why haven't you got it on now?
Because it's downstairs. I'm not going to wear it on here. So let's talk about the album, shall we?
Yeah, go on then.
So the first track, the track I want to talk about first of all is, you'll know this one. The first track of the album, side 1, Girls on Film.
I do know this.
Yeah, Girls on Film. So Girls on Film reached number 5 in the UK charts. Released in July 81. Was actually the 3rd single that Duran Duran released. I love the start of this track. You remember the start of this track? You've got that electronic camera wind on that starts the track off.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the drum track comes in, there's that dunk,
Yeah.
playing over the electronic camera wind on. Absolutely
Quite iconic.
Iconic start. Yeah. I think anybody, when they hear that, would know straight away it's Girls on Film.
Yeah. That's one you don't want to put into a game of Spot the Intro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it called Spot the Intro? Guess the Intro? Guess the Intro.
Guess the Intro, yeah. Guess the Intro.
Sorry,
and it's got that really great Andy Taylor guitar riff, that down, 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 that runs through the whole song. We're having to sing it because of Mr. YouTube's ridiculous copyright rules where we can't play a song in the background.
You're like referring to him as Mr. YouTube, don't you?
Well, it's a man that owns it, isn't it?
It is Mr. YouTube who owns it.
It's Lord Google and Mr. YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, no, we tried putting songs on the last one and they got
we got
content
copyrighted.
ID'd straight away.
So we can't bring you the song in the background, which would be great because we're reviewing an album for the artist, but you know, we're only saying positive stuff. But there you go. I'm not bitter.
Not at all. So, Girls on Film.
Yeah, Girls on Film. Have you ever seen the video to Girls on Film?
It's interesting you say that because that's the one point I've got about this is that I will remember being about 5 years old.
Yeah.
And you had it on VHS. You had it on tape.
Well, there's two versions of the video.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's two. There's a night version and a day version.
Oh, that might be it then.
Yeah.
Because I remember you were playing through songs on the VHS when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And that song came on, and you went, "You can't watch this one."
It's the night version.
You can't watch this one.
So it was directed by two guys called Godley and Cream, who were actually in a band called 10cc, and they left 10cc, and they made videos as well, and they shot the Girls on Film video, and the record company at the time said to them, make a really upbeat erotic video, because at that time MTV had just been released, and they also were playing in a lot of nightclubs, just started playing videos, and what they wanted was this really you know, erotic piece to be playing in the background in a nightclub, so people would be talking about Duran Duran. So they edited it down for daytime, and then they had a night version.
So they played videos in nightclubs?
Yeah, this was just started. So in 1981, they just started. MTV had just started, and they just started playing videos in nightclubs. So yeah, so there's two versions of the video for Girls on Film.
I've seen neither of them.
Well, check them out. Really good. You'll enjoy them. They seem pretty tame by today's standards, but at the time, yeah, they were quite raunchy.
Oh God.
Did that sound a bit creepy?
I don't know. We'll find out. You got right next to the mic on that one as well.
Turn it up. I'm going to put my glasses on to read this, because I didn't do this on the ABC one, and then I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the bridge where the second chorus drops out, and it goes into the bridge that links, you know, like the second chorus into the third verse. So it's that kind of like link piece in the song. Great bit of Roger Taylor drum solo that features in that bit of the song. I really, really like. And a great lyric: "Why do baby smile? You just made a million. Fuses pumping, live heat twisting on a wire." Really like those lyrics. Simon Le Bon. Because the song's,
I don't know what it even
well,
means.
Girls on Film is about models, isn't it? And being on a catwalk and so on. So why do baby smile? You've just made a million. Very clever.
I don't understand. Why does baby...
Wider.
Oh. Wider. Like smile wider.
Yeah. You've just made a million.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said, why does baby smile?
No.
I don't know why a baby would smile.
Wait, like, Coochie coo.
Yeah. You've just made a million, mate.
Yeah.
What the f*** are you doing? That'll get beeped out.
Beep that one out. So, yeah. And it was also, I think it's about that time was the advent of the supermodel. So where models started being paid huge sums of money for what they did. Quite a nice little link there.
Interesting.
So track 2, Planet Earth.
Yep,
was actually the first UK single, released in February '81 and reached number 12 in the UK. I love the Planet Earth. Again, the video. Do you remember the video to this?
No.
So it's the video. The band are they're filmed on this like raised plinth with nothing below them. It's very sci-fi almost.
Okay.
And at the very end, Simon Le Bon jumps off. It looks like he's jumped over the edge of this plinth that they're playing on. Starts up that really nice, deep, resonant synth sound at the start. Yeah, and again, there's a in the break. There's a really good bass solo by John Taylor. One thing I tell you what I really love about this album was Duran Duran seemed to have got the mix exactly right on all of the instruments. I've listened to it over and over again. Really tried to listen to carefully, and the way the mix of, because you generally tend to find on some bands that there'll be the person with the biggest ego tends to get brought forward in the mix. So if it's the guitarist, he gets brought forward in the mix. But on this, the mix is spot on. All four instruments,
Yeah.
the drums, the keyboards, the bass and the guitar, are mixed really, balanced really, really well.
And are you saying in this particular original release that mix is, because they've released quite a few remasters?
Yeah, which we're going to talk about in a little while, aren't we? Because we've noticed something a bit strange, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah, but let me get through side one first, and then we'll talk about those. So, Planet Earth goes into Anyone Out There. Starts off with a really nice repetitive bass line and guitar riff, and they play off each other really, really nicely. And they've got this really, really Roger Taylor pumping drum line, and behind it is this really soaring strength synth string line. Really, really love it. And it's one of those songs that ends all of a sudden. It just suddenly stops where you don't expect it to. I like
that.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the first songs I ever heard do that. Which suddenly just stops, and I thought, oh.
Well, instead of fading out?
Yeah, just a sudden stop.
Actually, a lot of them around that time just would keep playing the rhythm and the drums, and just fade out, but after a long fade out.
It used to go on for ages, didn't the fade, and you think, is this ever going to end?
Yeah.
You know,
you're just waiting for it to finish for the next track.
Yeah. So this has got a really nice, like, just suddenly stops. Cool. And then it goes into The Shore. It's quite a lilting song, I find. It's got this lilting synth riff that starts it off, and it starts off with a drum machine, actually, rather than Roger Taylor, and it's just this lilting synth sound with a drum machine and Simon Le Bon's vocal. And interestingly, in the chorus they use, so you'll tell me how they do this. They use a reverse drum beat. So you know when you hit a snare drum, it goes, doesn't it? You hit it, you've got the snap, and then there's the kind of like the sound that follows it.
Yeah, the tail.
Yeah, the tail. It's reversed. So it goes shk, shk. So the snare through the chorus is a reversed drum sound.
Oh, okay.
Which I first time I've ever heard that done.
Really?
I thought that's quite rare. Yeah.
It's not a difficult thing to do. I don't know how they're recording because I don't know the timeline of things. But is it tape? Are they recording?
Yeah, they're on tape then. Yeah.
So like most of their editing,
probably 32 track.
It's splicing, isn't it? So where you like cut the tape and move it around.
Oh,
but if you cut those two bits where the snare hits, and they just turn it upside down,
play that bit backwards.
Yeah, as in don't flip it.
It's really clever though.
Turn it backwards, really and it reverses it.
You don't notice it unless you're listening out for it as well.
I wouldn't have.
No, if you need listen to that, so listen to The Shore, and just listen to, when you get to the chorus, listen to the snare drum. It's the other way round. You get the tail, then what's the bit where you actually hit the drum, where you get that kind of
impact.
The impact. Okay, so it goes tail impact rather than impact tail. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
The final track of side one, which is Careless Memories, which was the second single released in April '81, got to number 37 in the UK charts. And that starts with, now I remember you telling me how this works. So they didn't have emulators then, but it's kind of this like looped synth noise. So it's got this.
Yeah.
How's that done? Is it looped? Did you say that kind of? Do you loop the sound?
No, if they're doing something like that, it's It's either a gate,
Right.
so you can put a hard gate on it, so
Right.
it kind of just every other beat or like every time period it drops the signal to 0 and back up again. Or it's an arpeggiator.
Okay. I love that sound, the way it starts. Obviously, it makes the track stand out. And then again, it's another one with this really soaring strings that flow and ebb through the song. There's a really nice heavy guitar riff that Andy Taylor puts in as well during the break. And the way the track ends, it's really good. It ends side one, and the actual song ends with the lyrics, "Look out, look out, look out," with Simon Le Bon shouting it.
Yeah.
And that's how side one ends.